What is up, everyone? It is Andrew here at Beat It AT Production and Publishing, bringing you guys a new YouTube video. Before I get started on what an EQ is, be sure to subscribe if you guys want to learn more about music production and other tools and services you can use and do to increase either your revenue, your production, your quality, and your growth. Also, if you guys want to get beats and work or collaborate, also subscribe and contact me. All the contact information is always in the description. So let's begin. In this video, I'm going to show you guys and kind of explain what an equalizer is. Since we are using FL Studio, it is best or easy to use the fruity Parametric Eq2. That's a native EQ for FL Studio, so it comes with all of you. Anyone that has FL Studio will have this EQ essentially, and I think this is one of the best EQs, mostly because you get a visual representation of where the sound is at, and it's pretty easy to use. Now, if you guys have other DAWs, there are other EQs out there, and there's even other third-party EQs, many of which are good. This is not like the only and best one. I just think that it is a really good one. So I got this little beat right here. I'm just gonna play. It doesn't really matter. The beat doesn't really matter a whole lot. What matters is the EQ. So I actually don't have anything on the master. This is not mastered at all. So just an FYI. So I got some EQs pulled up here. I normally put an EQ on every single instrument or state that I have. Very rarely do I not. If I don't, then it's either that the sound is already good where I want the characteristics that it has, or I just don't see a purpose of putting it in there, which is pretty much the same thing. So I'm gonna go in right here. So we got this little thing right here, this lounge lizard electric piano. So there's a gross beat half speed going on. So if we turn this off, this is a parametric EQ. So I'm gonna go ahead and add another one, fruity Parametric EQ2. And essentially, this is an equalizer. It's going to tell us the different bands. So each one of these is like a band right here. 7, reset. And then down here is going to tell us the frequency range in hertz. So here's 20 hertz down being the lowest frequency. That would be like your bass, and it tells you sub, bass. So this is actually like the sub region, a little past 50, around like the 63 hertz range, 60, 70 hertz range is like the top of a sub. So when you get in the lower frequency range, that's bass. Mid-range, you get in kind of like the vocal. Whenever we speak as, I guess, humans, naturally the most I guess frequencies that we would have would be between like 500 to about 700 to 1000, I guess. So it's about like a 500 hertz range. So whenever you're doing vocal mixing, doing a dip in that range will then start taking away the main characteristics of the vocal tone. Whereas when we get higher, so there's 1K frequency hertz, 2K, 5K, 10K. Those are going to be the more transient sounds. So pretty much the tss, tss in an instrument or a sound, often hi-hats are up in that high range, which is the treble. Pre-treble, I think that's high mid, mid, and then low mid. And then here's bass. So I mean, the Fruity Parametric EQ2 is great because it actually has labels and giving you guys an idea what is what. So I got this EQ right here. So right here is doing a little cut. It's not actually where it's actually legitimately cutting any frequency right there. And that's a band type 1. There's a notch. There's a low shelf. There's a high shelf. So high pass. This is a high pass filter. And it's called a high pass filter because it's allowing the high end to come through by cutting out the low end. Whereas over here, if I were to do it, it would be a low pass filter. So example, let's turn on that. So if I were to do a low pass filter, there you go. You know why it's called a low pass filter? Because you're allowing the low end to pass through the frequency range while cutting the high end. So there's no high. So let's go ahead and reset it. And then there's another one called a notch, which is also a which essentially is just a cut within a frequency range. So it sounds hollow. Then there's a band pass, and a band pass is essentially just a region. It's essentially the opposite of a notch. So I just reset it, and that's really the main details and things you need to know about your EQ. At least, and not really the main, that's not really all of it, but when you are doing your EQing, I like to say you don't want to do a whole lot of boosting. If you do a whole lot of boosting, then you are going to be you're essentially boosting frequencies. What is a better technique is to actually cut the frequencies you don't want, so then the frequencies you do want are amplified even that much more. So it essentially allows more room for the frequencies that you want to go through. So if I have a 808, let's go to the 808. So I did a little boost in here, but then you can see in that high range, I don't really need anything. And I could honestly just do that too, and pull up the band a little bit, so it's gonna be a little bit sharper. And that's pretty much it. I'm wanting to cut elements that I don't need. There's no point to have that. Now, some cases when you want something to sound more natural, so let's say if you just recorded a live bassist or live guitarist, you may want certain elements of that guitar, because when you start cutting so much, you're going to be losing aspects of that live performance. So when you start EQing a whole lot, things will start sounding robotic and just fake, because it's going to sound very synthetic, because you're manipulating the frequencies of the instrument or whatever. Now the goal is to not do it too much, or if your purpose is to get it like that, then do it. It just depends. EQing is a very useful tool, and then usually after EQing comes compression or whatnot. Sometimes even before EQ you might use a de-esser, but that's usually for vocals in my opinion, what I like to do. But it just depends. So yeah, that's pretty much the basics of a equalizer. It's just a tool that's used for producers, audio engineers, to look at a frequency chart and to manipulate and edit the certain signal coming in at a given hertz. type deal. That's kind of like a very unofficial definition, but for those of you guys watching this video should be able to understand that. That's just my way of defining it. So yeah, if you found this video helpful, and if you learned something, leave a comment what you learned, and also be sure to give us a like, share, comment, and subscribe. This is Andrew Rapier here of Beat It AT Production and Publishing, and I'll see you guys later.